Welcome back. Currently, we are learning Python, and this is day 12 of the playlist titled Python Beginner Boost. And in this video, we will learn about functions in Python. So, in programming, functions are reusable blocks of code that performs a specific task. They allows you to break down your code into smaller, manageable pieces and promote code reusability. So let's understand about function. As you can see on screen, I have already written some code on the screen, and this code is just taking the numbers from this list and calculating the average of these numbers. So here the code is calculating the average of this number, but suppose now I want to uh, calculate the average of some other list. So suppose I am having one another list, my list 2 equals to, and it is having some other numbers 1 3 5 7 and 9, and I want to calculate the average of this number. Then the approach will be like that: I will write the same code again here. So by writing same code, I am duplicating the code, and it will not be easy to manage this much same code. Like I will be using the same variable names again, it will confuse the developer. So uh, what we can do is we can write functions. So by writing function, we can use the same block of code again and again. So it will make our code reusable and manageable, and also promote code reusability. So now let's learn about how to define a function, then about calling a function using the return statements, and also how we can pass some argument parameters to a function. So for now, let me just comment this code, and we will come to this example later. So let me just comment this whole code as we don't need it now. So for defining a function, we have to use the keyword def. After that, we will give the name to a function. So suppose I want to write a function to print hello world on screen. So I will give it some name. So here I am writing it as greet. After that, we have to use the parentheses, which are brackets. And after writing the parentheses, we will write colon and press enter. And then as you can see, we have to use the indentation, because for indentation you can press the tab key and you will be automatically indented. Now the code which you want to reuse again and again, it can be written here. So suppose I want to print hello world. I have written it here, and now if I execute the code, hello world will be printed on the screen. So as you can see, hello world is not printed on the screen because currently we have defined a function but haven't used it. So for using the function, we have to call the function. So how to call the function in Python? So to call the function, we have to use the name of the function, which is greet, and after that we have to use the parenthesis. This is how you call a function. So by calling a function, suppose we are returning this line greet under this greet and then this parenthesis, it means we are calling a function. Then after calling the function, the execution of the lines of code under this function will start automatically. So now let's execute this code, and as you can see, hello world is printed. Suppose if I write one more line after it, then it will also be executed. So let me write subscribe to my channel. Let's save it and execute the code again, and now you will see on screen hello world and subscribe to my channel will be printed. As you can see, hello world, subscribe to my channel will be printed. And let me again do one more thing. Let me write one more statement so I can prove my points related to a function. Like the video and uh, comment and share. Okay, this is the last. Now if like you can see, this all will be printed on the screen. So as you can see on the screen, hello world, subscribe to my channel, like the video, comment and share are printed on the screen. Now suppose I want to print these statements at some later stage in the Python script, then I can again like call this function and it will be printed again. So let me write something else in between this. So I will write some dashes and save it. And now let me execute the code. As you can see, hello world, subscribe to my channel, like the video, comment, share. After this line is printed, which I have printed using this line of code print, and after that I again call the create function. So it all again executed the function, the line of code inside that function. So here you can see we are using the same function, and it is helping us to print those line of code. So this is what I mean by code reusability. You can write the code once and you can use it again whenever needed. So this is how you create a function and call a function in Python. Now let's learn about parameters in functions. So functions can accept parameters which are values passed into the function for it to work with. So suppose I want to don't I want to print my name using this function, then how I can do that? The one thing is I can just write here Shubham Lashkan, or like there will be some different names, like one person is coming, he want to print Shubham Lashkan, someone is coming, they want to print Steve Smith, etc. Then how they will do that? For that the name will be variable, so we have to pass some variable into it. So by this I mean it is a parameter, so we will pass some parameter here, and the value of the parameters will be passed at the time of calling the function. So we will write a variable name here, and then we will use the name of the variable inside this function, and we will pass the value of the variable when we are calling the function. So let me show it to you. Let me just make it smaller, and that's it. After that I will let me comment it, so you will not get confused by a lot of function with the same names. Again we will use the def keyword, after that greet, and here first of all we want to have the parameters in the function, so we will use some variables. So here the name of the variable is person name, after that colon, and we want to print the name of the person. Save it. So here we have written a line of code where we are printing the name of the function. So now if I write the line of code to call this function, then it will be like that, and we will execute the code. And as you can see on the screen, there is one error, which is type error, greet missing one required positional argument. So one argument is required and we haven't passed it, so we'll pass it. So I will here pass the value of this person name, which is Shubham Lashkar. And now let's save the code and execute the code. As you can see on screen, Shubham Laskan is printed. And suppose sometime you have just used the function and haven't defined it, then what will happen? So suppose we haven't defined the function and we are trying to use the function called greet, and it is not existing in our Python file, then what will happen? You will see it on screen. You can see name error, name greet is not defined. It means that the greet function is not defined in this Python script. So first of all, you need to define the Python function. After that, you can use it. So now if I uncomment and write the code to execute this file, then you can see Shubham Lashkan is printed on screen. So this is how you define the function and pass the parameters in it. Now suppose we are having one requirement where we want to do some calculations in the function using some number. Suppose I want to calculate the square of a number, and then I want to store the square of a number in a variable outside of this function. So I am having one a function called def. The we are using the keyword def. After that I will name the function square, and here we are passing a number. So the name of the variable will be number, and we want to multiply the number with itself, because we want to calculate the square of it. Now I want to store this calculation and want to use further in some other calculations. So suppose I am storing this uh, squared number equals to, we will call the function square and we will pass the value for which we want to calculate the square of. So I want to calculate the square of 5, and why I want to store the result of this calculation into the variable named square number. And now after line number 40 I want to use this number for some other calculation. Suppose I want to multiply it by 2 and print the result. So I will multiply it by 2, square number equal to square number multiplied by 2, and after that I will print it. So now if I execute the code, I will get an error because we are trying to use the result of this function without returning the result. So we are trying to use the result, but we are not returning the result to this variable. So we have to return the result. So number into number will be 5 into 5, 25, and after that we are returning the number. So it will return 25. Now when it returns 25, we are now storing it into the square number. So if I now execute the code, it will give me the output. So here if I execute the code, you can see 50 is printed on the screen. So return statement is used to return the result of the function. So if we want to return some result from a function, then we can use the return statement. But please remember, whenever you use return statement, you have to save the result into some variable. So suppose if I don't save it here, and also we don't have anything in the square number, so let's try to execute it. Then you will get this, like you are trying to return, but you are not capturing it in some variable, so you will not be able to use it. So you should need to store those variables, the return results, into a variable so that you can use it later at some point of time. So this is all about return statement. Now suppose let's get back to the greet function, where we are creating a function to print the name of a person using the variable, and this variable is treated as a parameter in function. And suppose sometimes while calling this greet function, we forgot to pass the value of the parameter, then we can use some default values. So how we can use the default values, let me show it to you. So I will again write a function here. Let me just comment the code, and here I will again def greet. So the name of the variable is person name, and if someone doesn't passes the name of the variable, then I want to use this value, which is anonymous. And once we have the name of the variable, we will print the person name. So suppose now if I go to greet and I doesn't pass a variable and save it, you will see anonymous will be printed on the screen. But suppose if we haven't passed any default values here while defining the function, then it will give us an error. As you can see on screen, error, one argument is not provided. So it is necessary, or it is a good practice or a best practice to always use some variables if a value is not provided while calling the function. So if I am not providing the value, then anonymous is printed, and if I am providing some values like Shubham Lashkan, then my name will be printed. As you can see on screen, first on line number 48 I am providing not providing any value here, so anonymous is printed. And on line number 49 I am providing Shubham Lashkan, that's why it is not taking this default argument, and it is printing the argument which I have provided, which is Shubham Lashkan. So this is it. This is the introduction of functions in Python. We will learn more about in the next video, but for now let me just explain everything to you once again. And also we needed to come to this example once again, so we will come to it. So first of all, What are functions? Functions are usable block of code that helps us manage our code and promote code reusability. Here we have created a function using the def keyword. After that, we have given the name of the function using parenthesis, and after that the colon, and on the next line we intend our code and writing the content of the functions or the line of code which we want to execute inside this function. And after that we have called the greet function, and here I have shown how code reusability helps us reduce line of code. So if we haven't used the function, then we might have written this 5 line of code instead of this greet statement on line number 24, and instead of this greet statement on line number 26. So here the functions are helping us reuse our code again and again. After that I explained you how to use parentheses, not parentheses, parameters in the function. So we use parameters by giving the name of the parameters and using those parameters while doing any calculations or any printing in our line of code. I also explained you about the return statement. So return statement are used to return the result of a function. After that, I have explained you about the default argument. Suppose sometime we execute the function and we haven't provided the argument, then it will use the default argument defined at the time of defining a function. So here we have defined and default argument with the value anonymous. So when I call the function greet at line number 48, I haven't passed the argument, so it is using the default argument. And on line number 9, I have passed the argument Shubham Lashkan. That's why instead of using anonymous, it is using the argument which I have passed. So that's it in this video. I hope you are able to understand about the functions in Python. So please like the video, share with your friends, and share on social media channels to help me reach more people and help them learn Python. Thank you very much. Have a great day.